But the real storyline that we have here, man, is I think one of growth, maturity, and educated fight styles. So is it fair to even look back at 2018 and watch that film and be like, you know what, I think this is going to play out the same exact way, or are we looking at a brand new fight here?
I don't think it's going to play out the exact same way, Derek, but I do think there's some value going back into that fight, specifically if you look at the way the two fighters have grown from that fight.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Gaethje, in my opinion anyway, grow a lot more of a fighter, of a smart, intelligent fighter who's reading the game and playing it. And then Dustin Poirier, by all means, he stayed great. He stayed in that kind of mold he's developed as a world-class champion and hasn't had to break the kind of barriers or mental barriers that Justin Gaethje's had to go through. So that's where I see a lot of the value that comes into play there. But does that really translate? Like you said, 5 years later, I don't know. It's going to be a lot of wishing and washing. Do you think it really holds a lot of weight?
The only real major thing that I think holds weight from 5 years ago isn't the winner or the loser. It isn't particularly the fight style, because I think we're going to see a lot of new elements. But I do think that you'd be crazy to not think both guys carry a little sense of understanding the implications of their actions from that fight. Dustin Poirier said it himself. He said that there was a little exchange between him and Gaethje way past the fight. They're at a fight together, sitting next to each other. And he's basically like, hey, man, you know, that fight over here, I hope we don't got to do that again. Like, I don't want to do that again, right? So there's going to be a little bit lingering, but these guys are both professionals, and more than professionals, these guys are the most clear cut for just a pure violence bloodbath of a fight. That's technical and violent. So I don't think any of that matters. But I want to talk about the storyline in terms of like how the fight plays out. I think it's fair to say, man, if we're talking volume, Poirier is going to land more shots. Poirier is going to be touching you the entire time. He's going to be trying to take away some of your best weapons and utilize his very technical boxing, which some would crown him as the best boxer in the UFC. Max Holloway would like to have a discussion, but that's neither here nor there. Justin Gaethje, though, he does not have to land a lot to be effective and to win rounds. That's the weird thing about him, right? He can win rounds off of pure damage. AJ, we've been saying it a lot recently. Damage trumps all at this point right now. It doesn't matter how many shots you get off. Do you think that Justin Gaethje, trying to be a more technical version of himself, is more suited to a victory here, or does he need to make this a pure bloodbath brawl?
Man, it's hard to say, Derek, because my guttural instinction says he needs the brawl, because that's where he's most tricky and kind of lives, and he's most comfortable going in. You go into a technical boxing match against Dustin Poirier, you are going to have a very long night. This is going to piece you up, keep you at range, mitigate all your offenses while controlling his defenses. He does it very, very well, and we've seen Justin Gaethje grow into that same kind of mold. But at the same point, he always has that X factor of a solid chin and brutal power. And I think that's where Justin Gaethje is going to really need to draw from to pull out. But again, as always, if you're fighting for a finish, you're not going to win a decision. Does he have the power, or at least the precision to land the power? Because we all know he has the power for knockouts. At one point, he was the most vicious man in MMA, one of the most entertaining. In fact, they call him the highlight. So we know he has the power to get it done. But do you think he's going to be able to actually hit the button on Dustin Poirier? Which, I mean, it's happened, but it takes it takes one of the elite. And not to say Justin Gaethje isn't, but just is the mix-up going to happen? That's what I'm interested to see, Derek. Do you think at all, well, one, is it going to be purely a stand-up fight, or do you think Justin Gaethje is going to turn to his wrestling a little bit right here, try to take it out of the diamond and actually get him to the ground, get him worried, get that same look that Khabib had Dustin Poirier looking like when he was on top of him, just motoring down, bearing down and making him carry his weight? What do you think?
Nah, bro, I don't. Listen, we've seen Justin Gaethje fight opponents where like your number one strength here is your wrestling. Look at Fiziev for an example, right? We said you need to wrestle. He's like, how about I don't wrestle, and how about I out technical and out strike the actual legit striker? Why don't I do that? So when you got a guy, especially when you have a competitor like Gaethje and you're fighting a dude who already beat you, come on, bro. I don't think that we're going to take that approach. I just think that they're going to be a little tighter in the pocket. Defense is short up. Watch for the big left hand of Dustin Poirier and try to take away the lead leg. I think that's the game plan. I think it's a pretty straightforward game plan. I think it's going to be more difficult to execute just simply given Dustin Poirier can change levels and try to switch it up. But let's see, like, how successful has that been in the history of people fighting Justin Gaethje? Hasn't been successful, wasn't successful the last time that they fought. So with that being said, I think that we need to really start thinking about outcomes of this matchup. Does this end in a finish? That's the easy thing. Everyone's saying BMF, bloodbath, knockout. Does it end in a finish, though? Because I don't think that's a lock.
I don't think that's a lock either, Derek. And in fact, I how much juice there was on these decision props, it made me want to go here. The only problem is I can see a finish happening, and it's a lot more likely than a lot of the other fights that a finish does. But these guys are both such gladiators and have been in there so long distance of time. Arguably, it's going to go. It's more favored to go the longer the distance. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that a decision is definitely in play, especially if Gaethje is a little less reckless as he was the last time. I mean, listen, man, you get caught with those left hands of Poirier, you're going to be in trouble. But Gaethje is going to be not only a cumulative damage, but he hits you with a big shot that rocks your whole head around. So can this go to a decision? Yes. Do we know it'll go to a decision? No. I'm more interested in why do you think that the opening odds were minus 135 Poirier, plus 115 for Gaethje, and now we're looking at minus 150 for Poirier, plus 125 for Gaethje. What's confusing to me, man, is Gaethje is kind of getting discounted as a guy who has not shown that he has been evolving in every fight. Poirier, on the other hand, no disrespect, that's the boy. You love Dustin Poirier. Look at who he's had to fight. You had Dan Hooker, absolute war, right? Two McGregor fights that I think it's hard to count those in the mix. Got beat up by Chucky Olives after you hurt him. Then beat up Michael Chandler after he was kind of putting it on you a bit, right? Instead, Gaethje, I just think we've seen a little more evolution in his game other than the Oliveira fight where both guys got kind of messed up. So what do you think?
Yeah, you can't doubt the evolution of Gaethje going forward in this, man. That's one of the reasons I like him a lot. But going back to the prop shifting that's going on, it makes my pick waver a little bit, Derek, because this seems to be one of those cards that a lot of eyes are tuning into. A lot of the casuals are really looking at these old YouTube fights and going to the MMA cores or wherever you need to do to watch these old school fights and thinking, oh, he already beat him once, you know? Oh, it must have been only like 2 years ago. So they still think it's fresh in the memory. You see all the highlights. You know where it's going. You see just how Justin Gaethje, who's fighting, don't fall into the trap is what my mind says on that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Derek, I'm probably still falling into the trap. I like Dustin Poirier in this fight even before I heard that news. I imagined he was going to be the favorite. I did not expect it to be a plus 150 at what it's at, or a minus 150 at what it's at right now. That's a little shocking to me. I expected this to be a lot more of a pick'em. I think this fight's very, very close.
It'll be a close one. It's going to come down to who wants it more, man. I think this will be a war of attrition for sure. Tough to call it 5 rounds. You want to call the knockout, but I like Justin Gaethje, and I think that we are going to end up seeing plus 425 hit. If not, we're just getting an underdog win with Justin Gaethje. I think he's the more evolved fighter, and I think that Poirier has fought the bigger names as of late than Justin Gaethje has, but the way Gaethje looked against Rafael Fiziev was very impressive, bro. That was more than impressive, and to be able to kind of get the job done that way. So I'm going to rock with Gaethje. I like the underdog play. How do you see Poirier getting it done?
I like Poirier taking advantage of the same prop, Derek. Decision plus 425. But I think this fight's going to be won in the third and the fourth and the fifth. And that, if Justin Gaethje has really evolved the mountains and leaps we've seen him evolve, can he keep that precision up those last, 10, 15 minutes? That's what's going to win the fight right here. I think Dustin Poirier is going to pull it out. Like I said, man, give me that decision. Looks good.
Fair play. That is your BMF championship. And I know we didn't really talk too much about that because it doesn't matter, folks. This is not a real championship. It's your WWE moment. But, I mean, hey, BMF, baby, we back.